The hour of 7 p.m. having arrived, I will call to order this regular meeting of the Keene City Council. This meeting is being broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel and Spectrum Channel 1302. The video is also streamed on the city's website and is posted by the end of the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. If you would like to receive an electronic City Council packet to reference while viewing future broadcasts, please contact the City Clerk's office during business hours or go to the city's website and subscribe to the city meetings email list. The agenda is also accessible from any mobile device. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Keene Bosley.
Here.
Laura E. Tobin. Here. Michael J. Remy.
Here.
Randy L. Filio.
Here.
Robert C. Williams.
Here.
Edward J. Haas.
Here.
Philip M. Jones.
Present.
And Andrew M. Madison.
Here.
Chrissy Roberts.
Here.
Brian J. Lake.
Here.
Catherine I. Workman. Bettina A. Chadbourne.
Catherine didn't.
We'll roll back to her. Bettina A. Chadbourne.
Here.
Thomas F. Powers.
Here.
Mitchell H. Greenwald.
Here.
And I'd like to recognize Councilor Chadbourne to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
They don't even stand.
I'll remind the council, Councilor Workman has requested the council's permission to participate remotely from this meeting and did so within the notice period 24 hours in advance of the meeting. If there are no objections, Councilor Workman has already identified herself, and I guess we would ask you the reason for your remote participation in this meeting, and if there is anybody with you in the room.
Good evening. I am requesting remote participation because I'm away out of state in Reno for a work conference, and I am in my hotel room alone.
Thank you, Councilor, for joining us, and remind the council that because of her remote attendance, we'll be taking roll calls on our votes. Councilor Greenwald for a motion on preceding minutes.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to adopt the minutes of the May 16, 2024 meeting as presented.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Greenwald and seconded by Councilor Bosley. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Council Bosley.
Yes.
Council Tobin.
Yes.
Council Remy.
Yes.
Council Filio.
Yes.
Council Williams.
Yes.
Council Haas.
Yes.
Council Jones.
Yes.
Council Madison.
Yes.
Council Roberts.
Yes.
Council Lake.
Yes.
Council Workman.
Yes.
Council Chadbourne.
Yes.
Council Powers.
Yes.
Council Greenwald.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Announcements. I want to start with a little bit of retrospect. I want to thank councilors who participated in our Memorial Day event. It did take place at the Recreation Center at 11 a.m. on the 27th, but thank you to councilors who made the effort to locate where the event was taking place and to be there to join with veterans, their families, and others in the community. I also want to thank folks for participating in the think tank exercise that the city's master planning process led this last week. It engaged, I think, 70 people on Thursday and 50 people on Friday. That's a good cross-section of our community to gather the input, and I think what we gained from it is insight into how we will begin to vision paths to our future, which is Vision Keene 20 Forward. So thank you for the participation. There will be other opportunities to do so. And I certainly encourage the community to take advantage of those opportunities as they present themselves. More on that in a second. Want to recognize the Monadnock Resource Alliance's efforts on housing and to recognize their workshop that they led at the end of May, the presentation by the Monadnock Interfaith Project on our housing needs, and the many people who came together to begin to brainstorm some of the options that there are available to advance our housing agenda. And I'd also like to thank those who organized the Taste of Keene. It was a great event this last weekend. Really appreciated the community's participation and also the leadership that the Young Professional Network provided for that effort. Thank you. Looking ahead, there are some invitations for the council and the community. Want to recognize the Monadnock Peer Support Group is holding a neighborhood meeting on June 13th across the street at noon. And if you wish to find some updates on the Monadnock Peer Support efforts, please contact them and let them know of your interest in attending. The Southwest Regional Planning, their annual meeting is on June 12th at 5 p.m. It's the same day as it's on June 11th at 5 p.m. The same day that we have a council workshop at 6 p.m. So if you want to join that for a few minutes, mingle with some of the other people leading city, town government in the Monadnock region, let Southwest Regional Planning know of your attendance. I plan on being there between 5 and 5:45. The Visioning Keene 20 Forward has planning sessions that are scheduled between in the week of June 18th through the 21st. On the 20th at our council meeting, there'll be a presentation by the master plan consultants for the city council. And then some upcoming council meetings. The full council workshop is going to be held on June 11th. This is on the downtown project is the focus. The Municipal Services and Finance and Facilities Infrastructure Committee will make its final recommendations on the downtown project at their regular meeting on June 26th. So I hope councilors can participate in the workshop on the 11th at 6. The final vote by the City Council on this project is anticipated for the July 18th regular meeting of the City Council. A reminder about July 4th being a Thursday in the first Thursday in July. We will not have a meeting on that date, so there's only one meeting in July on the 18th. The council's summer vacation schedule will start with the cancellation of the council meeting on August 15th, and that includes another cancellation of the council meeting on September 5th. So council standing committee meetings will be on August 7th and 8th. I'm sorry, the council's standing committee meetings will be canceled on August 7th and 8th and on August 21st and 22nd. So in any case, you got the idea. From the August 2nd meeting forward, council meetings are canceled until we pick up with September 11th and 12th with committee meetings in September 11 and 12, and the councils will meet again then September 19th. So a few updates. Oh, and one other one. The Human Rights Committee of the city has organized with other partners the Juneteenth celebration on June 19th. There are two events, one a community dinner at the community kitchen at 5 p.m. and the community meeting, community celebration will be at 6 p.m. on Central Square. So hopefully we'll run into each other before our next council meeting on the 20th. Okay, I'm going to ask at this time because we've got a number of audience participation things happening here, I'd like to advance from the agenda, if there's no objection, the letter, the letter from Katie Carbonara and Julia Gibson. Would the clerk please recognize that item?
We do have a communication from Katie Carbonara and Dr. Julia Gibson. They are resubmitting a request that they had at your last council meeting, asking that the council pass a resolution that would demand an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. And that communication was accepted as informational at your previous meeting.
Right, and I wanted to recognize the city attorney to just opine on where we are with considering an issue a second time, and so, Counselor?
Sure, thank you. Your Honor, just to remind the council, it's been your past pattern and sort of practice at this point not to act on or accept communications that really do have national import, but over which the council doesn't have any authority to act. That's been your past practice. At the last meeting on 5/23, I think that was the action of the council not to take it up. You'll recall that there was a motion with respect to this matter. It died for a lack of a second. And then the matter was filed into the record. Under Section 33 of the rules, once a matter has been disposed of by the council, it's not supposed to come up again during that calendar year. So I would suggest to you that under the rule, this would be not a matter that you would take up again. However, the council knows that it is a council rule, and it's up to the council whether they want to suspend that or not. But that's why the suggestion that we would make for you tonight, in keeping with the last action that happened, would be not to consider the matter tonight, unfortunately for the folks that are here.
So, we would then accept this letter as informational
That would be the-
again, and let's see how
Councilor
that
Williams, I think, wants to be
happens.
recognized.
Once again, I challenge the ruling of the chair.
Okay. And thank you. At this point, ask for a second to that motion.
All right.
Seeing no second, we will accept the letter as informational. Thank you for your attendance.
I would like to speak right now because this is the second time that we have brought this before you. And I
Sorry,
would like to
it's-
challenge the
it
fact
is-
that you say that the
it
council
is out
doesn't
of
take
order.
up issues of national importance, because in 2019, this council submitted a
Yeah.
letter to federal officials
Okay.
about the war in
All right,
Ukraine.
Point of order.
Sorry, we need to.
Yeah, I am speaking
No, I'm
because you
sorry,
have
I-
told us that the
you-
only place for us to speak
This-
is in committee.
Yeah.
And you have denied the request for us to go to committee twice now.
So
And
thank
that is
you
why
for
we are
your,
speaking right
I understand. And we were going to move on because that's the way that this meeting needs to flow. And we do have a number of items, so I'm sorry, thank
Do any
you.
of you have kids here? Do any of you have kids? How do you feel about the genocide?
Well,
and
we
how
can
it's
recess
done
the
right now?
meeting if you'd
This
like,
is
but,
ridiculous. We are speaking. We had a march of over 120
okay.
people attend. You
The
have
meeting
been
is
saying
recessed for
that
5
you need
minutes.
to
Thank you.
hear.
I'd like to ask a former counselor to join me. Sorry?
He went.
Yeah, thank you. We don't have Kat back on.
Yes?
Yes,
Yeah, well, she's back.
yes. Okay.
Tom? Good.
Raleigh. See.
So at this point, I'd like to ask our former Ward 1 counselor, city councilor, Raleigh Omerad, to join me up at the microphone. All right, do you want? Yes. This is an opportunity that we've waited for a few months to recognize Councilor Omerad for his service to the city council. With your Minnesota roots, replanted in Keene, New Hampshire, you really committed yourself to public service. You've been elected 3 times to the Keene School Board, 2 times to the Keene City Council. On the City Council, you served on the Finance, Operations, and Personnel Committee for a term. You've served on the Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee for 2 terms. And after 5, almost, at least 4.5 years, you found that it's a tough thing to be active in both ponds at the same time, the school board and the city council. It's obviously tough to replace you. We've had 10 separate filings for...
And protests.
Not to your candidacy, however. But I want to, in recognition of your service, you probably thought that you were going to receive a clock.
A clock?
A clock,
Oh,
but
boy.
not for you.
No? Okay.
Your artist tastes require greater creativity.
Oh, my.
So, as a thank you for your service and a wish for your continued success as vice chair of the Keene School Board, I'd like to present you with a token of the council's appreciation for your 4.5 years of service to Ward 1, to the city of Keene, and wishing you well as you continue with your work for the city, for the city's school board.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. May I open it? Thank you. Wow. This is beautiful.
Beautifully wrapped.
Oh, it is. Well, that's
Now for
right.
now for the surprise.
Now, let's see what we've got here. This is beautiful. It is the East Side Essential Square. And what am I looking at? Is that the gazebo?
This is,
No, that is an auction bandstand that was there at one point,
Wow, that's beautiful history.
sort of where the U is.
it is City Hall back in the day of horse and buggies.
Oh, this is beautiful. I've feel like I've been able to plant myself into the history of Keene, and I really appreciate and this honor you've given me, and the honor of serving with all of you for the time that I was here. And so I thank you for that. When those of us that were elected in the fall of 2019, we went through a tough time. The whole world went through a tough time, but it was really tough here in Keene. We didn't ask for it, but we went through the pandemic. And I want to thank you, this council, for standing with me during my darkest hour during that time. Thank you for that. For the city of Keene, thank you for all the support that you have given the council. And I would say that critiques of the council are completely in order. So don't forget that. What's also is in order, the citizens who come forward and help and solve the problems. And I'm so grateful to be in a town and a community like Keene, where we have so many in the community who care so much and who contribute. So I am going to miss serving with all you councilors and the city staff, and I will leave you to your work.
Thank you. And thank you to Raleigh's family, who I know many nights out. We appreciate the family's support for our counselors. We'll move forward with the public hearing on the fiscal '24, fiscal '25 operating budget. I'd like to ask the clerk to read the notice of the hearing.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Keene City Council relative to Resolution R 2024-20, which, at the time of the printing of this notice, would require that the sum of $29,816,986 be raised by taxation during the current year, which, together with $47,649,211 for estimated operating revenues, aggregating $73,466,197, is hereby appropriated for the use of the several departments of the city government, and further that the sum of $5,788,812 be appropriated for capital expenditures and capital reserve appropriations in the city proprietary funds, funded by the use of capital reserves, fund balance, and current revenues for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024.
Thank you. I want to recognize the city manager for comments on the budget, and then I'll recognize Councilor Powers to briefly review the Finance Operations Personnel Committee's work and their proposed amendments.
Great. Thank you, Your Honor. Tonight, we present the recommended operating budget for 2024 to 2025, which includes the first year of the most recent capital improvements program. Budget preparation began in February. We usually began in January, but we were delayed this year because we had a new report writing system that we were putting in place. It begins with the budget instructions to all departments. I then review those submissions with each department during the months of February and March. Next, I work with the Finance Department to bring the budget into compliance with the city's fiscal policy. To do so this year, we had to make over $1.6 million worth of changes to either expenses or revenues. Then, in early April, it's off to the printers to be back for May 1st for the submission to the City Council. During the month of May, the Council's Finance Committee reviews each section of the budget with the department heads. Finally, they make their recommended changes to the budget, and this year that was on May 23rd. This year, at FOP, adjustments were made to electrical accounts throughout the budget to account for a reduction in rates. An additional $1,000 was added to the nonprofit CASA in the outside agency section of the budget, and $7,000 for council Chromebooks was moved into the clerk's office to provide for more overlap during her retirement transitions. The result is the budget presented this evening for public hearing. The final step is a vote of the council on June 20th, and the adopted budget begins July 1st. It is about a 6-month process, excluding the CIP process. For anyone in the audience wishing to follow along, the budget can be found on the city's website, keenenh.gov. The budget is currently on the home page and on the finance page under the Financial Documents tab. My budget memo at the beginning of the document does a pretty good job in highlighting changes in the budget. Tonight, as part of the introduction, I would like to highlight a few items from that letter. Balancing service levels, long-term investments, and fiscal responsibility is an ongoing challenge. A detailed explanation of the general fund operating budget factors and fiscal policy measures are included on pages 5 to 33 of your budget book. The proposed budget complies with the City Council's fiscal policies and actually is over $400,000 below the city fiscal policy limit. The FOP recommended budget being discussed this evening is expected to increase the city's portion of the tax rate by 7.25%. This follows 3 years of minimal increases of the municipal rate, 2.82% last year, no change to the municipal rate in 22, and a decrease in the rate in 21. The chart on page 9 of the budget book illustrates the primary budget driver is the increased cost of wages. Wage adjustments are tied to contracted bargaining union agreements and non-union wage adjustments, which this year includes a 3% cost of living adjustment. $1.4 million of the $2.2 million overall operational budget increase is related to wages. The remaining difference is $787,000. And this is primarily the increased cost of human services, specifically the $400,000 increase in rental assistance, leaving only a relatively small small amount of operational adjustments throughout the budget. The rising costs associated with homelessness necessitates budget increases aimed at providing essential services while also seeking long-term solutions through collaboration with community partners. The proposed budget allocates the additional $400,000 to the Human Services rental line, which is on page 86, an increase in the city's part-time outreach position from 12.5 hours to 28 hours per week on page 85, a partnership with the Monadnock Family Services Street Outreach Program at $35,000 on page 42, and a $50,000 contribution to Monadnock Interfaith Housing Fund to support the creation of more housing opportunities in our community, which is on page 42. These initiatives support strategies that go beyond managing the immediate needs of individuals and leverage partnerships with our other community organizations to connect individuals with pathways to permanent housing and stability. The city participated in the state's InvestNH unit program and received $150,000 related to the efficient processing of permits for 15 affordable housing units. Specifically, at the Marlborough Street project, there were 15 units at $10,000 per unit. The proposed budget invests these funds as an offset to $100,000 of the increased rental costs in human services and $50,000 for the housing fund contribution. This year, the Greater Monadnock Collaborative requested a $10,000 contribution to their Promoting the Region campaign. While I wasn't able to fund this as part of my budget review, as I stated at FOP, I am planning to use fiscal 24 end-of-the-year marketing funds to make this contribution. Next year, it will need to be added into the budget. In accordance with the council goals relating to capitalizing on funding opportunities, gives me an opportunity for a drink of water. In accordance with the council goals related to capitalizing on funding opportunities as they arise, and specifically federal funds when they become available, we have submitted several applications for the next round of congressionally directed funded projects. So far, 2 of those requests have moved forward to the next step in the process. To Congressman Custer's office, the Transportation Heritage Trail Project Phase 2, which is a $3.9 million project. Thanks to the support of Custer, Phase 1 of this project is underway and scheduled for construction in 2025. Phase 2 will complete the work by repurposing 3 historically significant bridges. And we have submitted an application to Senator Shaheen's office. Moving forward is our request for the Downtown Stormwater Resiliency Program as part of the Downtown Project. It's a $4.5 million project, which we have requested 80% funding for. Page 35 of your budget book breaks down our debt. Right now, the stormwater work is scheduled to be debt. It's part of Resolution 2024-12, and it includes a portion of this project, just over $1.6 million. If we are successful at getting the 80% funded through a congressionally directed request, we will be able to reduce the amount we need to borrow as part of this budget and next year's budget. This will positively impact future operational budgets by reducing our future debt payments. It's important we aggressively pursue and advocate for grant funding whenever and wherever possible to help ease the burden on taxpayers as costs continue to escalate. Going into next year's process, I am concerned about the city's shift in values from commercial to residential and what that could mean to our residential taxpayers. In 2021, the city went through a citywide property revaluation to bring real estate assessments to market value. But real estate prices have continued to increase since that time, particularly with residential properties. The assessment equalized ratio for the city has dropped this past year from 80.9% to 72.8%, and our assessor believes this year we could drop to the 60s. This means right now the median sale price in the city is 27.2% more than its assessed value. Concerning property taxes, since all properties are around the same level, there remains fairness and equity in assessments. However, the equalization ratio still has some effects. The overall value of utility property in the city by state law must be equalized by that ratio. While utility values are reviewed every year to account for changes and the value may increase from the previous year, the equalization ratio of 72.8% will still need to be applied. When this is done, the result could be an overall loss in taxable value for utility property, shifting some tax burden over to other property owners and affecting the overall tax rate for the year. This budget includes the second year of an estimated $6 million reduction in utility values. Overall, the tax rate estimates are based on a conservative projection, which includes a net increase in value of $4 million. This is above the $6 million loss. This recommended budget considers the first year of the 2025 to 31 capital improvement program. The CIP goal is to provide for continued reinvestment in existing assets combined with strategic investment in new assets that are essential to the city's future success. One of those investments is the downtown infrastructure project. And as you know, the city has submitted a federal RAISE grant application for this downtown project, and we expect to hear back as to whether or not we have been successful at the end of this month. And with that, I will turn it over to our Finance Chair, Councilor Powers.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. City Manager has outlined for you a lot of business. When you think about the number of services we provide in this community and the people we have to care for, the streets to plow, fires to fight, it's pretty expensive. And as you know, every day it gets more and more expensive. And often, folks will hear me make this comparison to going to the grocery store. Every week it goes up. Well, every year or so it goes up for us in trying to provide the best services possible to everybody who lives, works, and travels through the community. And the budget that came from the staff, through the city manager, to the finance committee, was a very good budget. It's within all the guidelines. Yes, it's more money than last year, but I'm not quite sure we're providing as many services at the same level as the past years because it has become so expensive. But through the work that's been done prior to it getting to the Finance Committee, it's reasonable. It's a path for us to move forward. So when the Finance Committee met, and we met 4 times during this review period, we heard from each department that proposed a budget. We heard from outside agencies, some of which are here represented tonight. And we heard from community event organizations about their proposals. And every attempt was made to finance those in the best fashion. And one evening, we did add some money to one of the outside agencies. The changes that were made by the Finance Committee were a collaboration amongst departments and the Finance Committee looking at things, and they were outlined individually by the city manager for you tonight. And we also were very fortunate to get a reduction in the cost of doing business in terms of electricity, and that's spread across all funds. So the reality is the proposed budget before the public tonight is $93,000 less than what was proposed when it first came through the door to finance. So it's a good project, it's a good product, and it's going to do a lot of work for good projects for everyone in the city. And I thank the other members of the committee that worked on this. I thank the staff who put a lot of time into it. And I hope by the time we get done this month, we will have passed this budget as it stands. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. The public meeting is open, and I'd like to ask if there are people in the audience who wish to address the council at this time. related to this item, the fiscal 24-25 budget. Chuck?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I got 3 items that I just want to address real quickly. One was when I saw the rate increase, I was very concerned, so I did some checking into it. And I did call, spoke with somebody in City Hall, I can't remember who they were, but they said it's a result of the primarily staffing costs and associated personnel matters. So I looked into other communities and I found out they're all dealing with the same thing. They're having to raise their salary substantially in order to get vacant positions filled and to retain talent. So we're fortunate we do have a very dedicated staff force, and I think adjustments are being made to, recognize the situation that's going on. The town of Lebanon, for those that think 7.5% is quite a bit, the town of Lebanon is raising their tax rate by 9%. So there are communities that are hit harder than Keene. I just want to point that out because this was a big concern I had. And I'm seeing the same thing with the state. They're having to raise their salaries substantially in order to compete with the private sector and with other public sector entities. So I just had a lot more patience than I did when I started, and I realized we're all in the same boat. It's just the way of costs. The second thing, though, that I want to mention, and it's a little more of a sensitive matter because it is a human services issue, and that is the costs, the rising costs of housing folks in hotels and motels. And so I'm just wondering, is there going to be a cap placed on that at some point in time? Can the city do that? Or is it by law, if you have a vacancy in a hotel, you have to fill it? I mean, I'm just trying to figure this out, and I'm trying to see, what kind of costs is the city paying, and are they tracking increases in the costs of room rates? So that's basically my question in that regard.
The third.
Oh, and the third is, well, let's see, I forgot about the third while talking about the first and second, but so it'll probably come to me when the third's short. I knew that, so that's why I probably forgot about it.
I think the manager would like to address your points.
So in terms of assistance, Human Services Department is required by law to provide assistance to everyone who meets their requirements. So the state of New Hampshire doesn't allow us to put a cap on how much we spend or how many people we assist. If someone comes to the office and fills out an application and they are in need of assistance, then we must provide the assistance regardless of the amount in the budget.
So I've noticed that the state of New Hampshire keeps dropping the tax rate on corporations, many of them the Fortune 500 multinational entities, and the tax rate just keeps dropping and dropping. And when people say, the local municipalities come and say, we need some help, they'll say, sorry, we ain't got no money. But that's not acceptable to me. So I'm asking the city to, through the municipal association, write a letter addressing this concern of an unfunded mandate placed upon the municipalities without state participation. So I think if the state's going to mandate rules, they should also mandate some of the resources to take care of that.
And
we are a member of the municipal association. I'm sorry, Mayor.
Yeah, no, want to address that through the municipal association and the 13 mayors, 12 mayors signed on to a letter like that, forwarded it to legislative leaders, everybody in the Senate, and we will continue to try to address the unfunded mandate there.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. I just remembered the third, and that was, sorry, folks, don't mean to steal anybody's time here. The unfunded, or when you were talking about the property tax rate, you were talking about utility assets. Does that mean the telephone poles and all the wires and all that stuff, they're paying rent to the city, or they're paying property taxes for that?
Property taxes.
Can I ask about how much money are we getting for that?
I don't have that number. I'm afraid I don't have that number off the top of my
Okay,
head, but it's a
that's fine. I
significant
should
amount of
have
money.
given you advance notice somehow. I guess my point is that we're about to have a downtown revamp. There's one scheduled for years away for West Street. Downtown's pretty much taken care of with utility poles and such and wires. It's a very attractive downtown. West Keene has a lot of their streets taken care of with buried utilities. But you go to West Street and it looks like a picture out of 1884. You know, it's just wires everywhere and utility poles. One example, you know, it's not just aesthetics by any means.
Chuck, I'm going to ask you to
Yeah,
please wrap this
yeah,
up.
I'm going to wrap it up in 1 second. Thank you, Mayor. I saw a lady push a stroller 2 winters ago out in the road because there was no room on the sidewalks because the utility poles were taking up all the room. So I'd really like the city to address that and evaluate how they can get those, as improvements are being made to bury those poles, utilities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, councilors. I promise to be respectful and not make a scene.
And
I
address
mainly
yourself to the item on the agenda.
Yep, I just mainly wanted to introduce my daughter.
I'm sorry, we do need a name and a...
My name is Jessica Bullock, and mainly
A resident where?
I'm a resident of Surrey, New Hampshire, and I'm introducing my daughter Madison, who's 12. She was born in Bethlehem, which is in Palestine, and the other day she asked me.
Ma'am, if this is connected to the budget, or otherwise I'm going to rule this out of
Nope.
order.
Come on up and just say your one thing, your one quote. Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm going to rule this out of order. Please. Sorry.
Just one little quote. That's all. Big quote.
No.
This is a quote by James Baldwin. I love America more than any other country in the world. And exactly for this reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetuous.
All right, please, please, I'm going to ask you to stop. This is not what the meeting agenda topic is. Thank you. All right, somebody wishes to address themselves to the 24-25 budget, please.
To drop bombs on children's heads.
You've already
That's how much
made that
money
point.
that we could have here
Please
right
come to
now
the
if
table
you
and
wanted.
address
Free
yourself.
Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Derek Scalia, 16 Hillside Ave, Keene. I'm coming tonight to say thank you. I am so thankful for. I'm so thankful for you putting in the $50,000 into the Housing Development Fund. For the past 3 years, myself, with members of the Monadnock Interfaith Project, we have gone to countless city council meetings, regional planning group meetings, zoning board meetings, you name it, we've probably been there if it was a housing issue. And I'm so grateful that members of this council, civil servants of the community here, you all have leaned in incredibly deep into this issue. We all know that diversification of initiatives will address this housing crisis, and you have taken bold steps along the way. And this is a huge step in the process for it. It's not often that civil servants and elected members are thanked for your service and for developing a good budget. I am here to say thank you. I'm so grateful that we have bold leaders in this community here who really do lean into the hard stuff and really do want to make an impact and difference when people are really suffering here. This fund is a crucial tool as part of that diversification process. It seeks to create new and rehab current properties through a revolving loan fund. And I recognize that $50,000 is a modest investment into that. And yet every good project, every good initiative starts with a bold commitment. And the fact that our city is saying yes to this, it will create ripples along the way for others to contribute to this fund here. This is a moral document, our budget. It says what we value. And we value that people have a good place to live, that this is a good community that people can come, work, and thrive. Thank you for committing to that initiative and for all your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Scala. And thank you for recognizing the housing efforts that the city has defined in its housing study of 22 and how this relates to the number of steps the city has taken.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Becky Poor, and I live at 42 Summit Ridge in Keene. And I'm also part of the Monadnock Project, Interfaith Project, and I serve as a chaplain at Covenant Living of Keene, and I attend Monadnock Covenant Church. And I also want to thank you so much for what you're doing with adding the $50,000 to the Monadnock, to helping with housing, in addition to just hearing you go through so many different things that you're doing and have put in the budget to try to have an impact to help people. I also want to just share a personal story because I think sometimes it's easy for us to think housing issues relate to people outside of us or with a different journey. And so 36 years ago, I worked at Keene State College. I was a residence director. I met my husband, we were married, and we moved away from the state. I worked in the mental health field. He was a teacher. We began to lead a group home for children with facing difficult things in their lives. But we had a situation happen with our children that put them at immediate risk. And so we had to leave without much, we hadn't saved much money. We were early on in our marriage. Our housing was part of our job. And so when we had to leave this job, it was very difficult. We had been there a year. We loved the children we were working with, but our own children were in danger. So we had to leave. We didn't have a house. We didn't have a place to go to. We didn't have a job. Had it not been for the support we had from our family, we would have ended up on the street. And so I'm very thankful that we have family members that were able to take us into their home. We all lived, the four of us, my husband and our two kids, lived in one room for about a year while we were trying to get our life back together. But I also want to encourage you, what you're doing will make a difference, because looking creative things like having an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, it isn't just building tons of apartments, but helping people have an alternative housing option can really make a difference in someone's lives. And 36 years now, I have moved back here. We're so thankful to be in Keene. This is a wonderful community. I feel so proud to be a part of this community. People genuinely care about each other, and your budget shows that you care. But my husband and I were concerned when we moved here that cost of living was so much higher. I'm also the sole caregiver for my mother, and so we had to include that in the part of the picture. And so we need to look at family, having increased creative options for people who have find themselves in a difficult situation. So I want to thank you again for what you're doing. Thank you for listening and hearing. And my hope is that the seed money you're planting now will just multiply as other people recognize this need and want to make a difference together. So thank you so much, and know that what you're doing matters. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Michael Hall, 9 Kennedy Drive in Keene, and I'm also known as the minister of the Keene Unitarian Universalist Church. We just started our 201st year. I want to thank you so much for what you've done by giving this $50,000. It's sort of a starter for this fund that that means so much to so many people. One, Those of us from the Monadnock Interfaith Project, which I'm also representing tonight, have worked with the council, have worked with the city manager, have worked with anybody who'd want to work on getting affordable housing models here in the Elm City, but also by doing this and keeping this in the budget, this $50,000, which returns as the loans get paid, you're doing what needs to be done for the good of the region. This strategy, I think, represents something that is both is kind of unusual for political settings. It has a long game and it has a deep game. The long game is we're trying to increase the amount of affordable housing for people for all economic strata. And the depth game is that we are an integrated force. So it's not just churches, it's house builders, it's major employers, it's other towns within the region, and that the Shire town is starting out this effort, I hope will encourage the other towns that may not have some resources to perhaps contribute others, so that we can make a real sustained housing initiative happen, so that working people don't need to say, my doctors, 2 doctors said I quit, we live too far away, I can't find housing in Keene, and those things. And so I think that this is a brilliant move that you've made. Where we couldn't be happier for these partnerships, and as with other issues, there's a lot more to be done together than apart. So once again, thank you, and I will turn it over to Cody.
Oh. Another? So I guess I'll just remind folks, if there's something new that you wish to offer, please do so. And but I think we're getting the message. There's a number of people here that are in support, and you've done a good job of communicating that prior to the meeting as well.
Thank you, Mayor, and my name is Cody Morrison, and to answer your question, no, I do not have anything new to add on this topic, but I wanted to thank you all for your consideration in helping address this important issue, and we look forward to working with you all.
Thank you, Cody.
Hi, I'm Mark Budden. I'm the president of Savings Bank of Walpole, and we've been involved in this project since the beginning. So we're not part of the Interfaith Project, but we've been the business partner. And I just want to let the council know that we are staying involved in it. The bank will be contributing financially to the fund at a level greater than we're asking the city for. And we are also working with businesses that have been identified throughout Keene, and we are going to be a leader, working with others to get other businesses to make an impact investment into this fund. So this isn't the city, one and done and being by yourself. And we're going to get substantial contributions from the business community.
Thank you for helping make this successful. I'll ask the audience to restrain. Thank you.
Stand?
Sure, certainly. Name and address.
Good evening. I'm Heidi Schwieger. I reside in Munsonville, New Hampshire. I'm the newly appointed Development Director at Monadnock Center for Violence Prevention.
And that's low for me. And I'm Nick Hirsch. I am the Executive Director at MCVP, the Monadnock Center for Violence Prevention. Really just want to thank you as well. We get some money from you, and that makes such a big difference. For those of you who don't know MCVP, let me just say real quick, we address 4 areas of violence. We address domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and human trafficking, which includes both sex trafficking and labor trafficking. A lot of people are surprised at that last one, but we get all of those. We get actually a lot of them. I just had a labor trafficking case come in on Monday, so we get them. Another example of how busy we are. This is my work phone, my work cell phone. I only use it when I'm on call. Right now, there's a front line on call, a backup on call, and me, the backup on call. I've already received from 4 o'clock when my shift started, 3 calls. That means that the front line is busy, the backup is busy, and I've got 3 calls. Our office, our staff is working nonstop, and one of the things that we do is related to housing, because we are a homeless initiative as well. We house individuals who are fleeing violence, specifically women, because we have a women's emergency shelter. So when a woman leaves an abusive home life and they leave that place, they are effectively homeless. They have nowhere to go. And unless they've got money, unless they've got friends, unless they've got family, they are homeless. And so the one thing that they can do is go to MCVP, because we are the only organization in the entire region that has a homeless shelter specifically for them to help them feel safe and help them be empowered to start their life anew eventually. We only have 8 beds. I just told you how busy we are. I had 3 calls. We can't meet the need. The only way we can meet the need is through partnership. And so we thank all of you. I've got a lot of friends and partners out here. I'm so happy to see all of them because we stick together. And I want to just, again, thank you all.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. We look forward to a deepened community relationship and civic engagement as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Others in the audience who'd like to address the 24-25 budget? Seeing none, I thank those who came forward tonight and who are in the audience for your support of the causes and the interests that you've conveyed. It's appreciated. And thank you for your pledge of continued support for those initiatives. So I will, at this point, seeing no further testimony, I will close the public hearing except for written public comments, which will be accepted until 1 p.m. Tuesday, June 11th. Written comments must be signed and submitted to the city clerk by that date and time to be included in the record. I also want to remind the councilors that our rules of order require that you submit a written communication containing any proposed amendments to the budget resolution. The deadline for receiving your communication to be placed on the next council agenda would be 4 p.m. on Tuesday, June 18th. And with that, I will close the public hearing. And we move on to the next item of interest, elections to fill the Ward 1 council vacancy. Thank you. Thank you. So let me start by saying we appreciate that we've had candidates come forward to fill the Ward 1 councilor vacancy. We've got 3 candidates that we'll consider tonight. We've received notice from 2 filings, and just to make that totally clear, that we had applications from Ethan Frock and from Dylan Germana. Both of them have notified the clerk's office since their filing that they no longer wish to be considered. So the field of candidates is Jacob Favalise, Michael Conway, and Bradford Hutchinson, and I'll call forward those 3 candidates in that order. So, Mr. Favalise, you have 5 minutes, and the clerk will serve as timekeeper. And the council is not permitted to ask questions of candidates during their remarks. And because there are 3 candidates, I'll remind us of the process that we have a primary to narrow the field to candidates of the candidates down to 2. That'll be a roll call vote at the conclusion of the 3 candidates making their comments, and then we will consider the 2 candidates receiving the highest number of votes and declare a finalist hopefully tonight. Mr. Favalise.
Thank you, Mayor Khan and members of the City Council. Appreciate the opportunity to be back here a month later addressing my candidacy for the Ward 1 seat again. I think I pretty well covered kind of my background and experiences last time. I know there are other candidates to speak, and it's been a long meeting already, so I will just reiterate my interest in filling this seat. In the time since the last election, I've been able to attend several committee meetings, full council meetings, and was able to be a part of the think tanks on both Thursday night and Friday morning. And that was some really good perspective on where the priorities of the community are at and what are some of the big picture potential outcomes for the city of Keene as a result of its master planning process. So thank you for your consideration through the first round into this round, and I hope to earn your support and vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd next like to recognize Michael Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors. It's been probably 35 years since my last job interview. So I am going to use some notes. I'm a little nervous, to be honest. My name is Michael Conway, and to most of you, I am a stranger, but I am no stranger to hard work and to commitment. I enjoy a challenge, solving problems, finding a way, and specifically getting things done. I've enjoyed a successful career doing exactly that on behalf of my company and my clients over the years, and I welcome the opportunity to apply these traits to the benefit of my adopted community. I grew up the oldest of 6 kids in a family of very modest means, and the values that I carry today, frugality, curiosity, diligence, persistence, honesty, compassion, and responsibility stem from the lessons that I learned out of necessity at a very early age. They've served me well, and with them I believe I will serve well the city of Keene and the good citizens of Ward 1. As I mentioned in my bio, which I assume you all have, I am retired, but I stay active with various interests, including cycling, CrossFit, hiking, and sometimes just walking around with Nellie, my beautiful golden retriever retired service dog. And she happens to know all the downtown people and businesses that dispense treats. We like Keene a lot, and it didn't take long for it to feel like home. Speaking of home, I live in the middle of downtown in a mixed-use building. It's shared by businesses and residences, and it wasn't long after I moved in that I was drafted to serve on the condo association board and have since been elected treasurer. There's no real heavy lifting associated with that assignment, and it's not a significant time commitment. I also volunteer with Monadnock Habitat for Humanity, and that has ramped up over the past few years. I started out as a construction volunteer, initially with the Buzzards Bay chapter down in Southeast Mass, and then again here when I came here. These days, by default, and because of my interests and ability, I've become the go-to guy of sorts for planning, permitting, and land searching on behalf of Habitat. I'm also the newest member of their board of directors. So overall, that commitment involves occasional heavy lifting and moderate time commitment. The bottom line is that I'm positively involved but not overcommitted. And I have no employment, engagement, commitments, or conflicts that would interfere with my discharging the duties of a councilman.
One more minute, thank you. One more minute.
One more minute, okay. In closing, I want to tell you that if you vote for me tonight, and if I become the junior Ward 1 city councilor, for the next 18 months, I'll do everything in my power to ensure that you never regret your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, recognize Bradford Hutchinson.
Thank you.
I am Bradford Hutchinson. I'm going to be referencing two letters tonight. One appeared in the Keene Sentinel about 3 or 4 months ago, written by Councilor Williams, wherein his Trump derangement syndrome was on full display. I'm not going to talk about Trump. I'm talking about the behavior of councilors. The second letter I'm going to reference was written by Andrew Madison more recently, was given to the council and taken as information. That means the council doesn't want to deal with it. If you look at the end of Andrew Madison's letter, how does he wrap it up? What's he talking about? He's talking about the behavior of elected city councilors and potential, if they do wrong, what's not punishment and discipline. Elected city councilors is the topic of the letter Andrew Madison recently submitted to the council. But if you read the first part of the letter, he spends the first 2 or 3 paragraphs talking about a candidates, and city employees. He's not naming names, but if you read the letter carefully, he's referring to specific individuals. He's referring to me and Kevin McLean. Kevin McLean, I believe, was the employee that Councilor Madison referred to in the letter, and I was the candidate that Councilor Madison referred to, and he was alleging that I was engaged in bad behavior to Kevin McLean. No, Kevin McLean is a liar and a perjurer. And if that wasn't me you were talking about, who was it? Name names. I think it's inappropriate for a sitting city councilor to insult somebody anonymously and never even talk to them. I think it was me and Kevin McLean that Councilor Madison was talking about. Maybe I'm wrong. In a minute, Chris. I'm almost wrapping it up.
Point of order. Yeah, I think the person.
Can I wrap it up, Chris, please?
Thank you.
And about Bobby Williams. When that letter appeared in the Sentinel, I thought it was so inappropriate. He did 2 things wrong. He didn't identify himself as a sitting councilor. I think a sitting elected councilor has a responsibility, an obligation, and a duty to identify themselves as a city councilor in a letter to the Sentinel and to state whether they are stating their opinion or the city's council's opinion. What Bobby Williams' letter has left us free. Apparently, the Keene City Council is preparing for civil war later this year. Go reread the letter he wrote. He said that Trump and MAGA Republicans are going to have a civil war later this year. That's what Councilor Williams said in his letter that appeared in the Sentinel. The Sentinel didn't identify him as a city councilor.
I think the
I think I'm being interrupted by Councilor Roberts, and I'm almost finished. I have a couple more things to say, and then I'll be done. What is it? Just say it, Chris.
Your Honor.
You're interrupting me.
Part of our policy is we do not insult or incriminate people who can't defend themselves. And second, we have.
It's exactly what Andrew Madison did to me, and exactly what Hunter Oberst did in the Keene Sentinel right before the election last fall when they ran their character assassination hit piece that was full of lies, because Zachary Letourneau and Kevin McLean are liars and perjurers.
Please,
I did not do and I did not say what they claim that I did and said. They're liars and perjurers. And I don't appreciate when people lie about me and claim that I did and said things that I didn't do. My case was directly connected a year ago by Kevin McLean with the case of Chief Farquhar. It's inextricable. And now Chief Farquhar is gone because people have made allegations that he said something. That's exactly the dirty tricks that were played on me. There's some serious things going on in this town. Nobody knows because nobody wants to talk to me. Nobody wants to be honest with me. You all want to play games and run your mouth and gossip, and I'm tired of it. I'm not a dangerous, crazy person. I didn't do what they said I did. They went to court and lied and committed perjury and got a stalking notice. I want nothing to do with the guy. He's a liar and a perjurer, and now he's stalking me, and yes, the council's complicit. So anyway, when I went to complain about Bobby Williams' letter, I happened to run into the Trump representative, and he gave me a brand new MAGA hat. I guess I'm the Donald Trump of Keene, New Hampshire. And I withdraw my candidacy. That leaves 2 candidates. Have your vote. I don't know. I recognize Mr. Conway and Mr. Favalise. Either one will make an excellent counselor. I'm sick and tired of this bullshit.
All right. I think we are down to 2 candidates. Sorry that I let that go on, but I think it was prerogative of a candidate to address. I'm sorry he did not address his candidacy.
Bullshit.
Sorry he did not address his candidacy, but chose to use that as a platform. I regret not having seen that or stopped it, but I think our attorney would say it was an opportunity for him to present himself, and he did. Okay, we agreed, huh? That is the case. All right, we are with two candidates. Congratulations. You only have to listen to the vote once. So I'm going to ask initially that we ask the city clerk to call the roll, and please.
As I call your name, if you'll indicate which of the candidates you wish to cast your vote for. You do have the option of saying neither, so a no is also allowed. Council Bosley?
Jacob Favelis.
Council Tobin?
Jacob Favelis.
Council Remy?
Jacob.
Council Filio?
Jacob Favelis.
Council Williams?
Michael Conway.
Council Haas?
Michael Conway.
Council Jones?
Jacob.
Council Madison?
Mr. Favelis.
Council Roberts?
Mr. Fabulis.
Council Lake?
Jacob Favelis.
Council Workman?
Jacob Favelis.
Council Chadbourne?
Jacob Favelis.
Council Powers?
Michael Conway.
Council Greenwald?
Jacob Favelis.
The clerk, please. We have 11 votes for Jacob Favelis and 3 votes for Michael Conway. I'd like to thank Mr. Conway for his candidacy. Hopefully you will consider this again in the future. And I'd like to ask our most recent elected city councilor to join us at the table. Congratulations, Mr. Favelis. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Mr. Favelis will come forward and take the oath of office from our city attorney, Mr. Mullins.
We don't have a microphone.
You got moved it.
Yeah. Sure. That'd be easier. Thank you. No, we're gonna
There they go.
I have a pretty loud voice, so I'm gonna give that
Thank
to
you.
you. Okay? All right, so if you, hello, we all set? All right, so if you would repeat after me, please. Please state your name. Here, this one's for you to read.
I, Jacob Favelis,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will bear faith and true allegiance to the United States of America and the state of New Hampshire,
that I will bear faith and true allegiance to the United States of America and the state of New Hampshire,
and will support the constitutions thereof,
and will support the constitutions thereof,
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a Ward 1 councillor,
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as Ward 1 councillor,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Hampshire and the city of Keene,
agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire and the city of Keene.
and this I do under the pains and penalties of perjury.
This I do under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Congratulations, sir. Welcome aboard.
So as is delegated to me, I would like to ask Mr. Favelis, as counselor, you will be assigned to the Municipal Services, Facilities, and Infrastructure Committee. To make room for your assignment to that committee, Counselor Madison will be reassigned to the Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee. And so we're back to a full house. Thank you very much for your candidacy, and you're pleased to have you join our city council. We now move on to section G of our agenda. And with the clerk.
The mayor is asking that item G1 come forward in your packet. It is a resignation from Steve Bianco, who's been serving on our Keene Housing Board.
We're moving this forward so that we can take up a consideration of a reappointment to a new appointment to that committee.
So we have received a communication from Steve Bianco. We've actually had it for several months, and Steve, I believe, has now left the area. I think he attended his last Keene Housing Committee just recently, a few weeks ago, and so he is submitting his resignation due to his leaving the area.
Councilor Greeno for a motion.
Yes, I move to accept the resignation and request that thanks be communicated for his service to the city.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Greenwald, seconded by Councilor Mosley, and we will need to do a roll call on accepting this resignation.
Council Bosley?
Yes.
Council Tobin?
Yes.
Council Remy?
Yes.
Council Filio?
Yes.
Council Williams?
Yes.
Council Haas?
Yes.
Council Jones?
Yes.
Council Madison?
Yes.
Council Roberts?
Yes.
Council Fazelis?
Yes.
Council Lake?
Yes.
Council Workman?
Yes.
Council Chadwell?
Yes.
Council Powers?
Yes.
Council Greenwald?
Yes.
You have in your packet, thank you, motion carries. You have in your packet item B2.
This is a nomination from the mayor for an Amy Lair to serve in replacement of Steve Bianco. She would take the remainder of the term, which is December 31, 2026.
And we will table that nomination to our next regular meeting. We'll move on to communications.
We have our annual communication from the Kiwanis Club of Keene. They're requesting use of city property for their tree lighting ceremony, which is scheduled for November 29th.
And we will refer that item to Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee.
Our second communication is from Ken Cost. Mr. Cost couldn't attend the public hearing tonight and submitted his comments that are in support of the Housing Development Fund in writing.
And we'll accept that communication as informational. On to 3.
Our third communication this evening is, again, an annual one. It's from the Keene Downtown Group. It's a request to use city property for the Wizarding Week.
And we'll refer that letter to Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee. And item 5.
Actually, it should be item 4, but it's not in my packet for some reason.
No, it's item 5.
Okay. This is a communication from a law firm, Attorney Daniel Rich, and he's requesting that the city quit claim any interest it has in a former railroad easement that's at 120 Emerald Street.
And we'll refer this request to Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee.
And our last communication, again from a law firm, this one from Attorney Thomas Hanna, and he's speaking about the donation of land to the city at 0 Ashwellet Court, and their recognition that some compensatory flood storage needs to happen on the piece of property that they're intending to give to the city.
And because of the relationship of this request to our zoning code, we'll refer this to Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee. Moving on to section D of our agenda. I'm sorry, section C, reports.
So our In
Two
terms of
reports.
standing committee reports, actually, two of them are informational. The first is dealing with a communication that came to Municipal Services from a Charles Smith who wanted an opportunity to speak about tourism and homelessness. Mr. Smith contacted us early in the afternoon of the committee meeting, indicating his desire to withdraw the communication. So that is our first item.
And we'll just take that as informational item.
And then the second one is a update on a continued discussion from the East Side residents dealing with traffic calming on the east side of Keene streets, and that too is slated for informational.
And we'll move to the city manager's report.
Thank you. Before I begin my update, I would like to ask with your permission, Mayor, that Councilor Workman, who had her hand raised earlier during the June 19th conversation, be allowed first to speak, and then about the June 19th. That's okay?
Yes, please, Councilor Workman.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you, City Manager. I just wanted to add that the Human Rights Committee recognizes that not everyone has Juneteenth off yet. So in light of that, we wanted to make sure that we included events for everyone. So the actual Juneteenth celebrations kick off Thursday, June 13th at 12 o'clock. The Keene Family YMCA and Main Street businesses have collaborated to host the Freedom Journey Trail, and that will be going on till June 23rd. And then on Friday, June 14th at 5 p.m. at the Toadstool Bookstore, children's author Lisa Klein Ransom will be doing a reading of One Big Open Sky. At 7 p.m. that night at Brewbaker's, there will be a musical performance by Chris Matthews, who is a social justice singer and songwriter. There is a $15 cover for that. On June 16th, which is Sunday, at 6:30 p.m. at the Parker Hall Auditorium on Keene State Campus, there will be a film screening of Imitation of Life. And then on Sunday, June 16th at 2 p.m., the Showroom, Colonial Performing Arts Center, will have children's movies and celebrating Black stories. So it's a series of short films. That's for ages 9 and up. As the mayor said, Wednesday, June 19th is the larger formal celebration that will kick off at 5 p.m. with the community dinner at the community kitchen with the 6 p.m. Concert at Central Square. For more information, you can visit KeeneYMCA.org/Juneteenth for all that information as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
So I'm also going to provide a reminder tonight about Community Night. It's June 18th from 4 to 7 p.m. It will be held at the Public Works Complex on Marlborough Street. We will have equipment available from various departments, as well as an opportunity to engage with various members of the staff. This has been a very popular event in the past for families. The cruisers, the fire trucks, and the large airport snow removal equipment have been popular in the past. And of course, the Public Works team is cooking up some burgers and hot dogs, so I hope everyone can make that. And then we did some recent social media this week about a program at the state, because the deadline is coming up. It's the state's low to moderate income homeowners property tax relief program. And that deadline for application is June 30th. And for those who qualify, they can apply for a credit of a portion of the statewide education property tax that we collect on behalf of the state. The assessing office has paper copies of the application for anyone who prefers not to apply online through the New Hampshire Department of Revenue site. And then you all saw this, but for the members of the public who may not know, we have some new department head team members coming on board. We have a new Park and Rec director, and I will just say Keene State College beat us to the press release, so we didn't want to send out a press release right after Keene State was doing theirs, so we're going to do an additional release closer to the time of her start. But Kara Fisk Hennessy will begin her new role on July 1st. She has 20-plus years of experience in the related fields of intercollegiate coaching and athletic administration, teaching in local schools as a certified elementary and special education teacher. She's been employed by Keene State College in the Athletics and Education Department as the head of softball coach and student athlete committee advisor. And so she is going to be a very welcome member of our team, and we're excited for her to start in July. And then also this week, I announced the promotion. We have a new Public Works Director starting. He's in the back of the room. He starts his new role on Monday. Don Lucier, our city engineer, will become our next Public Works Director. Thank you for that. He is a seasoned professional with decades of experience in civil engineering, and he joined the city in 2016. So we're very excited to have Don start his new role. And then lastly, some good news I wanted to share on behalf of the Chamber. Too bad they're not still here. They were just recognized by the state at a recent New Hampshire Tourism Summit. Taylor Caswell, Commissioner of the Department of Business and Economic Affairs, announced that he was giving his first ever BEA Collaborator of the Year award to the Greater Monadnock Collaborative. So some really great news for us locally. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I had meant to mention earlier, we've done a really good job on our appointments to commissions and committees of the city. The remaining appointments, one is to the Southwest Regional Planning Commission. We have 3 members from the city and only 2 are currently filled. So if there's a city councilor who either wishes to have that additional role and exposure, or you are aware of people in our community who might wish to be considered for that appointment, they should go through the normal process of communicating with the city clerk's office, their statement of interest, and then we'll proceed from there. There are 2 other commissions that are needing additional members. One is the Heritage Commission and the other the Historic District Commission. So yes, those are the 3 areas remaining. I think we might have a seat 2 on the Ashwillet River Board. And otherwise, we've done good work to fill our vacancies. Again, your offer of names, volunteers, and would be helpful. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on. We move on to item H, and the first reading relating to the Keene, City of Keene Organization Chart. Did I just steal your thunder?
Nope, but you skipped one.
I did.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
I want to
I'm
talk
sorry.
about dogs.
City report.
Yes. So it's the annual warrant for unlicensed dogs, and they're actually, this is our second year sort of doing 2 versions of the warrant. One is sort of folks who did not renew dog licenses, and the second list is new dog owners who have received, their dogs have received rabies. We've gotten notice of that. We've contacted them about the need to license. They have failed to do that, and now they're on the warrant. Combined, there are 466 owners and 573 unlicensed dogs that need to renew, which is pretty close to where we usually are. So that is what this report is, and our typical recommendation would be to send it to Municipal Services, but PLD has been so interested in dogs, we were hoping that the mayor would refer it to Planning, License, and the Development Committee for us.
We'll refer that then to Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee, because
You get all the good stuff.
Is there a name on it?
maybe I'd like to have a conversation with Counselor Williams about this issue. We've got some other communications that have been received relative, and I think you've indicated an interest in wanting to follow up on that.
Dog business.
Now on to item H.
This is an ordinance for first reading, and it is dealing with the organizational chart. We had intended that to actually be an attachment to your class allocation ordinance that went to finance last cycle. But there is a need to update that chart, and that is contained in ordinance O 2024-10, and we're looking for it to be referred to the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee.
And it will be referred to FOP. Yep.
We're on to ordinances for second reading, and this is the ordinance I just referred to. It's the class allocation and salary schedule ordinance. It was heard before FOP last cycle. They are recommending the adoption. However, this would be appropriate that you table it until the next council meeting. It is part of the operating budget, so it's best to have it tabled at this point.
And we will table that till the June 20th meeting and incorporate it into the adoption of the operating budget resolution. Moving on to section J.
We now have a resolution of a retirement, Resolution R 2024-22, a resolution in appreciation of Michael J. Abbott upon his retirement.
And we'll file the memorandum, ask for Counselor Powers for a motion to adopt resolution.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would move to adopt Resolution R 2024-22.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Powers and seconded by Counselor Bosley. There's no comment? We'll need to do a roll call.
I think the council would like to
Oh, I'm
offer a
sorry,
few
you
words.
do have some comment. Yes, let's
There's a lot-
recognize Counselor Powers.
A lot of work put into this. And the city clerk is so good at making things precise. She has managed to line them up based upon years of service, age, and rank.
I'm not that good.
Then it fell into place.
Okay.
Two fine gentlemen have hung up their helmet, as they might say, and got very wet when they were doing that in the last month. And the first being Captain Mike Abbott. Mike's got more than 31 years service here. First few years as a call member while he was running a little business of his own, which he's kind of maintained on the side. When he was sort of tired of chasing fires, he'd go back and do some glazier work with windows. He was a true leader, and he ran a shift for quite some time. He was promoted up through the ranks fairly rapidly because of his ability to lead. He would anticipate situations long before it got too hot or too out of control. He anticipated the needs around the house, and most importantly to him, he took care of his folks. And he was the same way, and is the same way with his family. So as he retires, his new role, which he happens to be running right now and so proud of, is being a grandpa. And, I think he'll put effort to that and care and help his grandchildren the same way he did for everybody in the fire department. He'll also spend a little bit of time hunting and fishing, and you're going to see him on a Saturday or Sunday morning in your neighborhood poking around because he likes yard sales also. Our congratulations to him. I hope we're going to pass this unanimously. Thank you.
Now would be appropriate for a roll call on the motion.
Council Bosley.
Yes.
Council Tobin.
Yes.
Council Remy.
Yes.
Council Filio.
Yes.
Council Williams.
Yes.
Council Haas.
Yes.
Council Jones.
Yes.
Council Madison.
Yes.
Council Roberts.
Yes.
Council Favelis.
Yes.
Council Lake.
Yes.
Council Workman.
Yes.
Council Chadbourne.
Yes.
Council Powers.
Yes.
Council Greenwald.
Yes.
Our second retirement resolution is for Aaron Cooper upon his retirement. Resolution R 2024-23, a resolution in appreciation of Aaron F. Cooper upon his retirement.
Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-23.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Bosley, and Counselor Powers.
This is in appreciation of Lieutenant Aaron Cooper, who retired last Monday morning at 7 a.m. Got very wet. I did too. He too began as a call firefighter, and he worked his way up through the system and has been an emergency medical technician and a lieutenant. And his first assignment as a lieutenant, as an officer, was in the training office. And that's where he made a big impression upon the organization, because his ability to relate to brand-new troops or people that have been around a while, and how to work through the proper way to do business, how to train and understand your job and be very good. He set a standard that's pretty high, and when he moved back on the floor, he was dearly missed in that office. And as he retires, he will be greatly missed, because he was just a gentleman, a quiet soul that got the point across, and another person who took care of his troops. He had a family, has a family of two boys and a girl, and one of his boys is quite a baseball player, and he coached him all the way through and followed him through his career, sort of as a coach and a mentor, and he's always watched out for the people he worked with, his family, and his friends. Please unanimously adopt this one. Thank you.
Seeing no further comment, would the clerk please call the roll.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Robert?
Yes.
Counselor Favolis?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Chadwick?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
And moving on to item J3.
And this is a report from the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee relative to Resolution R 2024-24. The committee is recommending the adoption, and we have Resolution R 2024-24, a resolution relating to the adoption of a citizen participation plan and grievance procedure for community development block grant funded projects.
Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-24.
Second.
This procedure was developed mostly by Southwest Regional Planning for us, as we partner so many times in the various block grant programs and other programs, each of which come through the state, but it's a federal money program. It has a number of regulations, and we are always consistent, but they begin to change from time to time. So this procedure that we're adopting now is a new add-on to the regulation as we get into another fiscal year where we're going to deal with grants and CBDG grants. So it was required. We had a staff member from Southwest here, explained it to us, and while it sounds complicated, it's just very simple that we follow these particular procedures each time we work through a grant. Finance Committee unanimously adopted. I hope you will do the same.
Okay, we have a motion made by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Favolis?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Chadwick?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
That motion carries unanimously. We move on to item K4.
And similar to our class allocation ordinance, the following two items, well, the first dealing with all of the bonds related to infrastructure projects in the city. These are coming forward from finance with positive recommendations, but they are actually part of the operating budget, so it would be appropriate to table these to the next meeting.
And we will table those until June 20th meeting of the City Council. And moving to item K5.
And that same recommendation goes with the actual fiscal year operating budget. Have the public hearing this evening. It would be appropriate to table that to our next meeting.
And that too will be tabled to the June 20th meeting of the City Council. With us having concluded, seeing no further business coming before the council at this time, I just want to add a thank you to Mary Howe and the finance staff for getting prepared for this evening, the city manager for her coordination of all the effort, and the Finance Operations Personnel Committee for their work with the departments and going through the budget. It's been a lengthy process, and we'll take it up finally with whatever input is received by June 18th. We'll take it up on June 20th. Seeing no further items, I'd like to recognize Councilor Greenwald for a motion.
Thank you. The fun continues. We do have a non-public session, and I move to go into non-public session for advice from legal counsel under RSA 91-A:3, 2L.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Greenwald and seconded by Councilor Bosley. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Bosley.
Yes.
Counselor Tobin.
Yes.
Counselor Remy.
Yes.
Counselor Filio.
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Haas.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Madison.
Yes.
Counselor Roberts.
Yes.
Counselor Favelis.
Yes.
Counselor Lake.
Yes.
Counselor Workman.
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne.
Yes.
Counselor Powers.
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald.
Yes.
Motion carries. We're now in non-public session.
Yes. Yes. Yes.